I discovered my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair about 7 months ago. I went through all the heartache, denial, and pain. For a long time, I was drowning in depression, barely functioning. I never confronted her, but I was a total mess, and she must have known that I knew. She just didn't care, or at least that's what I assumed. But about 2 or 3 months ago, I hit my breaking point. I was done with the pain, done with her, done with our marriage. I just didn't care anymore. I completely checked out from that point on. I avoided her as much as possible. I made sure I wasn't home when she was. And even when I barely spoke to her. When she asked me a question, my answers were short and cold. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. I stopped pretending. I even left the divorce lawyer's bills out in the open, making no effort to hide them. She had to know what was coming. Even the kids noticed. They came to me, eyes wide with worry, and I had to sit them down. We both love you, I told them gently. It's not your fault. Sometimes grown-ups just can't be together anymore. She was in the room when I said it. She heard every word, but she didn't say a thing. No argument, no objection, just silence. I took that as her consent. Then, a few days ago, something unexpected happened. I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, Sally. We used to go to school together back before I ever met my wife. There was always this tension between us, this unspoken chemistry. We'd flirt, find excuses to touch, but I was too young, too shy, too stupid to act on it. Before I could find the guts to do anything, her family moved away, and I was left with nothing but regret. But now, here she was, standing right in front of me. The moment we started talking, it was like no time had passed. The conversation flowed effortlessly, as if we'd been waiting years for this moment. She smiled at me, tilting her head slightly. So, are you seeing anyone? I hesitated before answering. It's complicated. Her smile faded just a little. Complicated how? I took a breath, deciding to be honest. I'm married, but not really. We're done. I just haven't finalized everything yet. Sally studied me for a moment, then nodded. I appreciate you telling me. So what happens now? I want to be officially separated before I start dating anyone, I said firmly. I'm not going to cheat. Her smile returned, warmer this time. I respect that. She reached into her bag, pulled out a piece of paper, and scribbled something down. Here's my number. Call me when you're done with what you have to do. I took the paper from her, my fingers brushing hers for just a second. She gave me a teasing grin. I never got married, you know. Really? I asked, surprised. She nodded. Never found the right guy, I guess. Then she leaned in just slightly, her voice soft. I'm really excited to get to know you again. I was even more excited than I expected. Running into Sally had given me a clarity I hadn't felt in months. It was a final push I needed to officially confront my wife and get the separation and divorce process moving. For the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely happy. When I got home that night, I sat down in the living room, waiting for her to arrive. I must have looked like a lunatic, grinning to myself, but I didn't care. This was it, the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. When she walked in, I gestured to the chair across from me. Can you sit down? We need to talk. She looked at me warily, but sat down. What is it? I took a deep breath. I've known about your affair for a long time, I said, watching her face closely. She flinched, but I kept going. I assumed you knew I knew. I mean, how could you not? I completely checked out of our relationship for the past 3 months. You didn't seem to care, and honestly, I don't care anymore either. Her hands tightened into fists on her lap, and I could see her bracing herself. I want to start dating again, I continued, my voice steady. I want to move on with my life, and considering everything that's happened, I think it's time for us to get divorced. Don't you agree? I expected indifference, maybe even relief, but what I got instead shook me. She broke down, not just crying. This was something else entirely. A desperate, soul-breaking noise tore from her, something raw and guttural, like she was being torn apart from the inside. I had never heard anything like it. She started blabbering through her sobs. Please, James, please. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A stupid mistake. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I stared at her in shock. Are you serious right now? She clutched at my arm, her grip tight. Yes, I love you. I don't want to lose our family. I don't want to lose you. I pulled my arm away, shaking my head. Then why? If you didn't mean anything, if you didn't want to lose me, why did you go with him in the first place? She must have known this would destroy us. She can't possibly be that stupid, can she? I stared at her, watching as she dissolved into a sobbing, incoherent mess. But I felt nothing, just a dull, hollow exhaustion. If you really believe we needed to fix our marriage, the time to do that would have been 7 months ago. I told her, my voice calm, almost attached. Before you had the affair. Now it's too late. It's broken beyond repair. She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. No, James, please. We can fix this. I wasn't thinking. I was lost, but I love you. I swear. I cut her off. I didn't think we had any problems, I said flatly. You never talked to me, and I'm not a mind reader. So whatever it was, I had no way of fixing it. But you obviously thought something was wrong. Wrong enough that you went and found someone else. She flinched like I'd slapped her. So, tell me. I continued, leaning forward, my eyes locked onto hers. What was it? What was missing? What was so wrong that you couldn't come to me? That you had to go behind my back instead? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out except strangled sobs. I shook my head. Whatever it was, it had to be bad, right? So bad that it couldn't be solved by just talking to me? So bad that it was worth destroying our family over. I let the words sink in before I added. Because that's what you did. You made the choice. You decided that whatever was wrong was worth risking everything. She buried her face in her hands. I wasn't thinking, she choked out. I was stupid. I was selfish. Yeah, I agree, I said, my tone cold. You were? Her head snapped up, eyes wide and desperate. But I never stopped loving you. I swear, James, I never stopped. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Don't say that. You don't get to say that. Love doesn't do this. Someone who cares even a little wouldn't put me through this kind of pain. They wouldn't betray me like this. I exhaled slowly. You keep telling me you love me, but your actions prove otherwise completely. She started speaking again, but it was just a jumbled mess of words, half-formed apologies, desperate excuses. I couldn't even make sense of it. I rubbed my temples, feeling the last remnants of my patience slipping away. This is pointless. I muttered to myself before standing up. I'm calling your sister. She didn't even argue. She just sat there, shaking, sobbing so hard I thought she might pass out. I stepped into the hallway, pulled out my phone and dialed. Her sister answered on the second ring. James? Yeah. I sighed. Listen, I need you to come over. What's going on? She asked, concern creeping into her voice. I finally told her we're done. I said simply, she's a mess. I need you to take her. There was a brief pause before she said, I'll be there in 15. When she arrived, I gave her a quick rundown. She didn't look surprised, just tired. She helped my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, off the couch, whispering soothing words to her as she guided her out the door. And then they were gone. For the first time in 7 months, I could finally breathe. I don't even know what I'm looking for here. Validation, closure, maybe just confirmation that I'm not crazy for feeling this way. But no matter what I feel, the truth remains the same. She had to know this was going to happen. She had to know what she was doing. She must have wanted it on some level, because no one could possibly be so blind, so reckless, so utterly foolish to think that choices like these would lead to anything other than divorce and a broken family. She's beautiful. She's smart. And up until she started her affair, our marriage was great. But that's in the past. I've accepted that. Life changes. I've moved past it. So why is she pretending now? Why is she acting like she still loves me? Like she wants us to remain married? Like we can still be a family? What could possibly be her motivation for this drama at this point? What does she gain? She couldn't seriously believe we could reconcile after everything she's done. Could she? It has to be some kind of ploy. I just can't figure out what the hell it is. I sat down, rubbing my temples, trying to piece it together. I had plenty of evidence of her cheating. In my country, that meant no alimony for her. Maybe that's it. Maybe she's afraid I'll expose her and she'll walk away with nothing. Or maybe she's scared I'll tell her affair partner's wife. That would explain the desperation, the sudden need to act like she still cares. I sighed, leaning back in my chair. None of this made sense. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was wasting time trying to figure out her motives when my focus needed to be elsewhere. I grabbed a stack of papers and started making lists, headlines on each one covering the key points I needed to address. Our kids, how to behave when meeting her, my marriage, Sally, questions to ask my wife. Each category had its own space, its own weight. My goal was clear. I needed to figure out what mattered most, what core principles I wanted in place, and what I needed to focus on. Then I could evaluate whether any of it would actually lead to something meaningful. The kids were my number one priority. I tapped the paper labeled kids and underlined it twice. Whatever happened between their mother and me, they shouldn't have to suffer for it. I would increase my efforts to help them through this. Individual counseling, family counseling, whatever it took. I'd make sure they had support from every direction. I picked up my phone and called my sister. "Hey, James," she answered, her voice warm but cautious. She knew this was a rough time. "I need a favor," I said, getting straight to the point. "I want the kids surrounded by love, more family time, more support. Can you and Mom help?" "Of course," she said without hesitation. "We'll be there for them, for you too." I exhaled, the tension in my chest loosening just a little. "Thanks. I'll also be talking to their teachers, their coaches. I want to make sure they have a strong support system in place." "That's a good idea," she said. "And James, are you okay?" I hesitated. "I'm managing." We both knew that wasn't an answer, but she didn't push. After we hung up, I stared at my next note. DNA testing. Just thinking about it made me feel sick, but I had to do it. I had already taken an STD test. I wasn't going to take any more risks. But this was different. I had to know, not just for myself, but for them. If they weren't mine, they had the right to know the truth. I booked the test and sat there, staring at the confirmation email. My mind ran in circles. What if they weren't mine? Would I still be their father? Of course I would. But would they want to know about their biological father? Would they ever want to reach out to him when they got older? How would they see me if I didn't act now? If I didn't take control of the situation and make sure they were mine? I wouldn't be able to breathe properly until I knew for certain. Hopefully they're mine. But until I get confirmation, the stress will weigh on me like a stone in my chest. Before anything else, I spoke alone with their therapists. I needed to understand the best way to approach this. How to tell them, how to answer their questions, how to make sure they felt secure despite everything crumbling around them. Once I felt ready, we sat down together as a family. I took a deep breath and looked at them, my children, my whole world. Their eyes were filled with uncertainty, confusion, and maybe even fear. I needed to be strong for them. "There's something we need to talk about." I began, my voice steady. "I know things have been difficult lately, and I know you have a lot of questions. I want you to know that no matter what, you can come to me with anything. I am your dad. I love you more than anything in this world, and I will always be here for you. No matter what, that will never change." They listened quietly, taking in every word. I repeated it over and over, making sure it sank in. Lila's voice was small when she finally spoke. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, sweetheart, we are." Derek frowned, looking down at his hands. "So what happens to us?" I leaned forward, my hands resting on the table. "Nothing changes when it comes to how much I love you. You will always have me. We'll figure everything else out together, okay?" They nodded, but I could see the pain in their faces. I wanted to take it away, to make everything better for them, but I couldn't erase what had already happened. All I could do was be here, be solid, be dad. Later that night, I sat alone, staring at the paper labeled marriage. I already knew the answer. The truth had settled into my bones, cold and immovable. I could never trust my wife again. Without trust, a relationship is impossible. And I didn't love her anymore. The realization didn't hit me like a sudden crash. It was something that had been creeping up on me slowly, surely, until there was no denying it. The love I once had for her had been a massive part of me, a force that shaped my world. But she killed it. Her affair shattered something inside me, something that couldn't be put back together. Maybe under different circumstances, I could have learned to love her again. Maybe if things had played out another way, I could have tried. But the truth was, I didn't want to. I had no desire to fight for this marriage. I didn't want to rebuild something that felt irreparably broken. It was better to end it, better to walk away and get on with my life. I no longer wanted this marriage. I no longer wanted her. The part of me that used to feel joy and warmth at the thought of her now filled with dread and memories of pain. Any association with her made my skin crawl. Divorce was inevitable, and I wanted it done as soon as possible. Maybe jumping into a new relationship with Sally wasn't the best idea. My life was a total mess, and I didn't want to drag her into it. It wouldn't be fair to her. When I told her this, she disagreed. Life is messy, she said. Might as well see how we deal with that together. She had a point, but I wasn't ready. While talking, I learned why she had never married. She had been engaged once, nearly 5 years ago, but her fiancé died unexpectedly in a work accident. It devastated her, and although she'd gone on a few dates since then, she had never formed a real connection with anyone. From her perspective, life is short, and you have to take risks whenever a true opportunity presents itself. I understood her view, but I still didn't want to start anything until after my divorce was official. I don't want to cheat, not even technically. I told her. She respected that. I also brought up how it could look if we were suddenly out in the open together right after my marriage ended. It would be easy for people to paint you as a homewrecker, I said. I don't want that for you. Sally agreed. We decided to wait until everything was final before doing anything. Still, I felt incredibly drawn to her. This phone call alone felt like a borderline emotional affair. I knew that if I wanted to do this right, I had to create distance. So we agreed I would get my affairs in order, contact her when I was ready, and then we'd see where things went. With that settled, I turned my attention to the inevitable meeting with my wife. I sat down and wrote out a set of principles for how I wanted to handle it. I reminded myself of the kind of man I wanted to be. The man I used to be before all of this. I needed to stay calm. I would make every effort not to be cruel. The purpose of this conversation was to move forward, not to reopen wounds. Most importantly, I wanted to co-parent as well as possible for the sake of our kids. Still, I had questions. I needed to understand what she had been thinking, why she had the affair, what her plans were moving forward. I would be direct, but I wouldn't be deceitful. I wasn't going to give her false hope just to gain leverage for a post-nup or any advantage in the divorce. I had already decided I would act as fairly as possible. I would divide all assets with her equally. I hate her for what she did to me, to us, to our children. But at the same time, I can't erase the good memories. I love the life we built together, the moments of laughter, the quiet nights, the children we raised. I want to remember her that way. Not as the woman who betrayed me. I can't carry this hate in my heart forever. At some point, I need to forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. I need to move on. Up until she cheated, I truly believe we had a good marriage. We made love every day, spent quality time together, and rarely argued. We sacrificed for each other willingly. I was always open with her, and I believed she was open with me too. But now, her actions have shown that wasn't the case. Saturday came, and I went to see her. Her sister had warned me that she was in bad shape, and she wasn't wrong. When I saw her, I barely recognized a woman sitting in front of me. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face swollen from days of crying, her hair unkempt. She looked like she had shrunk, like she had imploded into herself. It was clear she hadn't been sleeping or eating. We sat down and I waited. My wife was shaking almost uncontrollably. Surprisingly, I felt calm. I saw her pain, but I didn't feel the way a husband should. I felt for her the way I might feel for an actor in a tragic movie, detached, engaged, but distant. It was in that moment I knew, without a doubt, that I didn't love her anymore. She tried to speak several times, but kept breaking down into sobs. I watched, waiting. Her sister sat beside her, crying too, occasionally berating her. It was clear that her sister had seen this coming, that she had warned her. Finally, my wife spoke, and when she did, it was like a dam bursting. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I can't even begin to tell you how much I regret everything." I just sat there silent. She kept apologizing over and over. She didn't try to blame me or make excuses, which I found surprising. I had expected some kind of justification, some attempt to shift responsibility. But there was none. Her sister wiped her tears angrily and looked at me. "I told her," she said bitterly. "I told her this would happen, but she wouldn't listen." I frowned. "Told her what?" "That she'd lose everything." Her sister said, shaking her head, "It's how I lost my fiancé." That was news to me. I never knew her sister had cheated. My wife let out another choked sob. "I started thinking about it after that," she admitted. "I started wondering what it would be like if I could do it and keep my life the same." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. "So this was planned?" "No." She shook her head desperately. "Not at first. I started thinking about it a lot. And then I met him." Her face crumpled, and she let out another heartbreaking sob. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said through her tears. God, I don't even know how to explain it. I got infatuated, like a stupid teenager with a crush. I couldn't help myself." I clenched my jaw. "You couldn't help yourself?" She nodded miserably. "I told myself it was just a fling, that it wouldn't mean anything. I never thought you would find out. I never thought anyone would get hurt." I felt my fists tighten in my lap. "You didn't think I'd find out?" I repeated, my voice cold. She let out a small, broken laugh. "I was happy, James," she whispered. "I was so happy with you, with our life. I told myself I deserved this, that if you knew how happy I was, you'd probably support my choice at the time." She had convinced herself that the affair would pass, that it was just a fleeting moment in her life, and that we would all go back to our happy family. She had no idea I had already found out. Only when I started to check out, becoming distant, uninterested, absent, did she begin to question what was going on. I thought everything was fine," she whispered, still wet with fresh tears. I let out a humorless chuckle. "Fine? You really believe that?" She nodded, wiping her face with trembling hands. "I told myself it was just a phase, that once it was over, nothing would change, that we'd be okay." She told me she had broken up with him about a month and a half ago. The excitement, the thrill had started to fade. She had blocked him, she said, and handed me her phone as proof. I took it, my hand steady as I navigated to her blocked contacts. The moment I unblocked his number, a flood of messages poured in, desperate, pleading, frustrated. I looked up at her, and she flinched under my stare. "Guess he didn't get the memo," I muttered, scrolling through the unread messages. She swallowed hard. "I wanted to fix things with you, James. I've been trying. I thought if I could just get you to see how much I love you, we could find our way back." I shook my head. "And what? Be stronger than ever? That's what you thought, isn't it?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." I leaned forward, my voice lower now, colder. "And when you looked into my eyes that night when I told you I knew, what did you see?" Her lip trembled, and she broke down again. "I saw it was over," she admitted in a whisper. I saw that I destroyed everything." I sat back, exhaling through my nose. "Then why are we still having this conversation?" She sniffled, hands twisting together. "Because I have to try, James. I have to fight for us, for our family." I closed my eyes briefly, forcing myself to stay calm. Then I asked the question that had haunted me since the moment I found out. "Tell me, what was it? What was going through your mind that made you think you had the right to do this to me, to our children?" She sobbed harder, shaking her head. "I don't know. I I cut her off sharply. You must have had a reason. You don't just wake up one day and decide to blow up your family. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She just looked at me, pleading, as if I could somehow give her an excuse she didn't have. And that's when it hit me. There were no answers, no explanation that would ever make sense, no reason that could justify this level of betrayal. I let out a slow breath. You know what? It doesn't matter. Because nothing you say will ever make this okay. She broke down completely, her body racking with sobs. But I felt nothing, not anger, not sympathy, not love, just emptiness. I got closure today. I said more to myself than to her. I gotta tell you how much you hurt me, how much pain you cause. She looked up at me, her lips quivering. I know, and I'm so sorry. I will never forgive myself. I nodded. Good, because this is on you. You destroyed our marriage. You broke our family. Our children will grow up in a broken home because of you. She flinched as if I had slapped her. I didn't care. It was the truth, and she needed to hear it. She reached for me then, her hands shaking. Please, James, please give me another chance. I'll do anything, anything. I stared at her, and for the first time, I realized the full extent of the damage, not just to our marriage, but to the way I saw her. I don't believe you, I said flatly. In fact, I don't believe anything you say. She asked me what she could do to fix it, her voice desperate, searching for some kind of roadmap to redemption. You broke it, I told her plainly. If you don't even know how can you expect me to give you a solution? She swallowed hard. James, please, just tell me what I can do. Anything. I'll do anything. I shook my head. If you were in my shoes, what would you say to that? She hesitated, her hands twisting together as she searched for an answer, but there wasn't one. These kind of questions went back and forth between us for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, she let out a shaky breath and admitted, if the roles were reversed, I don't think I'd be able to forgive this either. I nodded. Then you understand. I told her I had already gotten tested for STDs and that I planned to get a DNA test for the kids. The moment those words left my mouth, she completely broke down, sobbing uncontrollably for nearly 20 minutes. I just stood there, watching, detached from the scene in front of me. When she finally managed to catch her breath, she looked up at me, eyes swollen and red. James, I swear this was the only time. I have never, ever done anything like this before. I crossed my arms. And why should I believe that? She hesitated, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for the right words, but there weren't any. After another round of back and forth, she finally conceded. I guess you don't have any reason to believe me. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably do the same. I moved on. Does AP's wife know? She shook her head slowly, looking away in shame. I sighed. She deserves to know. She swallowed. I know. I leveled my gaze at her. So, should you tell her or should I? Her lip trembled. James, if I tell her, if I go to HR and confess everything, would you consider reconciling? Maybe marriage counseling. I didn't even hesitate. No. She flinched as if I had slapped her. I kept my voice steady as I continued, but it would help you regain a tiny bit of respect in my eyes. Her shoulders slumped, but she nodded. Okay, I'll tell her. I'll tell everyone. I'll go to HR. I'll do whatever it takes. I exhaled, rubbing a hand over my face. I don't really believe you. She reached for me then, her voice cracking. I swear, James, I will never be with anyone else ever again, and I will never stop trying to get you back, even if it takes the rest of my life. I didn't believe her, but at this point, I didn't say anything. The conversation was becoming redundant. Then she made an offer that made me feel even more disgusted. What if we had a one-sided open marriage? She blurted out, desperation dripping from every word. You could see whoever you wanted. I'd stay faithful to you. You have access to all my communication, 24/7 availability. Anything, James. Anything. I stared at her for a long moment, then said, I already talked to Sally and I'm waiting. She blinked confused. Waiting for what? I exhaled slowly. For the divorce. Because I don't want to cheat. I don't want to be in an open relationship. It would hurt her if we did that, and I don't want to hurt other people the way you hurt me. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but I wasn't done. And I don't want to be your jailer either. I continued, constantly snooping on you, being suspicious every second of the day. That's not grounds for a healthy relationship. I'm not interested in intimacy without a deeper connection. Sex for the sake of sex means nothing to me. If I needed a mechanical release, I could handle that on my own. I don't need a partner for that. By this point, we were all exhausted. We had been talking for over 5 hours, and my wife had been crying almost the entire time, sometimes softly, sometimes uncontrollably. Her face was red and swollen, her voice raw from sobbing, but there was nothing more to say. We weren't going to get any further than this. It was done. I looked at her, my voice steady but firm. The love I used to have for you is gone. I don't even recognize the person you've become. Our family, our marriage, it died by your hand. She shook her head violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. No, James, please. You can't. Undo what you've done? I continued. The only way to avoid this would have been to not start the affair 7 months ago. That was your choice, and this is the consequence. I don't want our marriage back. I don't want you back. And I don't want any more pain. She sobbed harder, clutching at her own arms like she was trying to hold herself together. I sighed, already feeling drained. I think we need to go no contact for a while. We need space, distance, perspective. I already filed for divorce. My mind is made up. Her whole body tensed. James, please. The only thing we could do now is co-parent. I said, I'll agree to family therapy for the kids' sake, but beyond that, I don't even want to see you. That broke her completely. She crumbled in on herself, shaking as she cried on her own sobs. No, she kept repeating, as if she could will it into reality. Please, no. Please, James, no. I stood up to leave, feeling suffocated by the weight of it all. But before I could take a step, I saw her sway, her hands clutching her face. Blood started pouring from her nose, fast and heavy. Her breath hitched in panic, and she tried to reach for me. Then her knees buckled. I caught her just before she hit the ground. Her sister screamed, "Oh my God, James, help her!" I didn't think. I just acted. I scooped her up and carried her to the car, her sister right behind me. The drive to the ER was tense, her sister crying quietly in the passenger seat while I focused on the road, my wife pale and barely conscious in the back. I stayed at the hospital until I was sure she would be okay. Last night and today, she's been telling everyone what she did. Word spread fast. This morning, AP's wife called me. The moment I picked up, her voice was tight with controlled anger. Is it true? I saw. Yes. Silence. Then she exhaled sharply. Do you have proof? I do. Send me some of it. I did. A few minutes later, she texted me back. He's out. I kicked him out. She called again soon after. James, I need to see all of it. I've suspected for a long time, but I never had anything solid. Can we meet? I thought about it for a moment. Let's sit down for dinner tomorrow. She hesitated, then said, Can we talk now on the phone? I rubbed my temples, exhausted. Maybe later. Some of her friends and relatives have been calling me, cursing me out, telling me I should give her a second chance. They act like I'm the villain here, like I'm the one who destroyed our marriage. You're really going to throw everything away over one mistake. Her cousin spat over the phone earlier. I clenched my jaw. One mistake. I repeated, my voice colder than I intended. She made that mistake every time she met up with him for 7 months. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. You still love her, she insisted. You have a family together. You can work through this. I let out a bitter laugh. Love? Whatever love I had for her died when I found out what she was doing behind my back. And our family, I sighed. She already destroyed that. I'm just cleaning up the wreckage. She scoffed, muttering something under her breath before hanging up. That was the third call like that today. But in my mind, I keep thinking, why drag out the pain? Better to get it over with now, so we can all start to heal and build new lives, even if that means moving forward separately. There's nothing left to save. The DNA reports came in, and the kids were mine. 5 months later, the divorce was finalized. It was strange. After all the turmoil, all the fights, all the tears, the finality of it felt almost quiet. I gave my ex-wife her share of the assets, and with that, we were done. No more paperwork, no more court dates. Just two people who once had a life together, now moving in separate directions. The kids don't want to stay with her. It's not something I ever encouraged or pushed them toward, but they made their own decision. She's always sad. Lila told me one night while I was tucking her in, she doesn't talk much, and when she does, she just sounds tired. She kills any happiness we have, Dad. Derek, sitting on the edge of his bed, nodded in agreement. Yeah, it's like she wants us to be miserable with her. I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't want them to resent their mother, but I also couldn't force them to be around someone who made them feel that way. Sally, on the other hand, has become more like a mother to them than I ever expected. They love her. They laugh with her. They tell her things they used to only tell their mom. It used to make me feel guilty, but now I just feel grateful. Seeing them happy again, seeing them feel safe and loved, that's what matters. I'm glad you found her, Dad. Lila said one day as she helped Sally set the table for dinner. She smiled at me, a real, genuine smile, something I hadn't seen in months. She makes us happy. That meant everything to me. Sally and I are getting married in 3 months, and the kids are just as excited as we are. As for my ex-wife, she's finally started therapy. I called her a few days ago to wish her luck. She sounded distant, but she thanked me. The kids don't want to see me, she admitted, her voice breaking. I get it. I do. She sighed. I miss them. I didn't know how to respond to that. I wasn't going to force them to see her, but I also knew that this was a consequence of what she had done. She seems to finally understand their emotions now, and because of that, she's been a bit absent from their lives. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.